Welcome to Dictators v Democrats. I'm Theo Althorp-Mullis reporting from Kyiv, Ukraine. What you can see behind me is a memorial. In the same way that countries like Britain plant fields of poppies, the Ukrainians plant fields of flags. And these aren't put down by the government, these are put down by those who knew the fallen. Friends, relatives, family, fiancés. And this field is huge. Thousands upon thousands of little flags flutter here in the wind. And when Elon Musk turned off Starlink satellite systems in September 2022, a system the Ukrainian armed forces had come to rely upon, and in the midst of a vital counter-offensive against Russian imperialism and aggression here in the country, he added to that field you see behind me. His actions, traitorous in nature, led to deaths. It is perfectly reasonable to say. Communications went down, vital reconnaissance drones went dark, artillery could no longer accurately hit their targets. Encirclements of Russian positions failed. And as recently as March this year, he has denied doing any such thing. However, Reuters reports that a number of engineers at Starlink say that they were told directly by Elon Musk to turn off the systems in large swathes of Ukraine where fighting was taking place. Now, these included areas which the Russians held, but the Russians do not rely on Starlink in the same way that Ukrainian forces do. So it was targeted. And Elon Musk has repeatedly come out against supporting Ukraine in their fight against fascism. And I wonder why that is. I think perhaps his father may have something to do with it, a man who recently travelled to Moscow on a propaganda tour. And his grandfather, a man who supported apartheid in South Africa. It appears to me that the apple has not fallen far from the tree. And Elon Musk, through his actions, betrayed democracy, cost lives, and furthered the cause of authoritarianism and fascism.
So I was curious about what consequences Elon Musk would face had he been a US industrialist in an earlier period, during World War II, before American official involvement in the war, but while the United States had firmly come out on the side of the United Kingdom through the Lend-Lease program, etc. And he'd likely face government seizure of his system under the Defence Production Act or something similar, congressional hearings, or possibly a criminal investigation, and absolutely, as he is seeing to an extent now, public outrage and media backlash. He would be called a traitor by Allied press and possibly even US media. And that appears to be what he is. The man cut off vital communications for a US ally in a time of desperate war, which they're fighting against an invader who aims to commit genocide against them. To do something like that is to put yourself on the political stage as an actor, and is to take the role of a state without any of the oversight, without any of the consequences. And that has to be something that we fight against. Somebody like Musk cannot have control over critical national infrastructure, and Starlink has essentially become that in Ukraine now. If you go to anywhere in Ukraine, if you go to the front lines, or even if you go to a rescue operation outside the tents, there is a Starlink system set up. And the fact that Musk felt that he had the right to turn that off and therefore cost lives is something that needs to be corrected.
But Starlink still remains something that the Ukrainian armed forces have come to rely on, and the service is still being provided. However, I do get the feeling that this is begrudgingly on Elon Musk's part. As I said earlier, he has repeatedly come out against supporting Ukraine in their fight against Russian fascism, and his questionable familial ties around this subject. The man can't be described as a Democrat. And Starlink has come out in response to Reuters, saying that they provide vital services to Ukraine. Musk himself did not return any request for comment, and nor did the Ukrainian government. However, as recently as a few days ago, Starlink services went down across large parts of the front lines. Why? A technical glitch, maybe? These systems are complex. Perhaps, again, with pressure from the Russians on Pokrovsk, with their summer offensive under full swing, the question is open. The fact is that we shouldn't be having these vital systems that we rely upon for our defense, for the defense of democracy, in the hands of a man who is capricious, whose family has fascistic links, who has come out again and again against Ukraine in their fight for freedom. Why do we rely on a man such as this to help us? Fact is, we shouldn't. And Europe should be setting its own Starlink system up, or equivalent, with alacrity. Because if we don't do that, then we leave our defence and the defence of this wonderful country here in the hands of a capricious oligarch who has pressed the off switch before, and who's to say he won't do it again? This has been Dictators v Democrats. Always remember, keep your vital military products out of the hands of capricious, narcissistic, alleged drug addicts, and keep fighting for freedom, because democracy is non-negotiable.